Hello everyone and welcome back here on the ChainLog YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about on-chain data and we are going to explore the balance of the different categories of hodlers, and we're going through the exchange reserve of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the other data that we have on the reserve of miners and the derivatives data on the open interest and so on. So first things first, I ask you to subscribe, ping the notification bell, and share and like this video, and to follow me on the other social network. I'm most active on Twitter, but obviously I am active also in the other social network. All the links are in the description. So let's see what we've got today. Let's start with the realized price versus the 200 weekly EMA. So this is the chart I usually watch to see if we are in a zone where we can invest for the long term, or anyway where we can say that we are in the way to the top. So into the seed of a new bull market, as I already said. We are in fact more or less there. Something has changed, but nothing actually tells me that we are ready for the next step. We are still in a bear market. Macroeconomic conditions are still the same. There is really much to say about the on-chain data from a realized price perspective. We already said that. We already saw where the supports are and where the resistance are, and if you want to know more, here we have the resistances and the support for the trading, and also we talked about in the last episode you can watch on YouTube about the resistances we have had in next month and the supports we have. So get there to have more info. As of today, we are standing still above the 200 weekly EMA right here at 25.3, and more or less trapped between the two, the 200 EMA and the 200 weekly SMA. What we'll see is actually the same as always. I am still expecting some kind of a dip down here to find support at the 200 daily here, but still that is the support I think of when I'm watching the charts, where we'll find support and find liquidity to get in above. My base case here is still something like this. Okay, so a V-shape recovery, not that much into 29k maybe, still something like this, then like this, then it is more or less something like this, but still to reach anyway the 31k as we did previously, and so on. So until we break through and we break down from here, I don't think we'll see other price. Anyway, we bounced off from, as I already said multiple times last weeks, we bounced off the 50 EMA at 25k, so a huge support right there. For the monthly chart, we've still 11 days ahead for the close of this month, so we can still get below, but I don't think so we'll get as much down as per the majority thinks. The very last case I see is the 24k as of right now, before getting liquidity to get above and getting short squeezed to the upside. But let's go into from a non-perspective price, but more on the fundamentals price, to see the address bands balances of the various categories of hodlers. In this case, let's see humbucks, how they're moving. If their supply, here we have the charts of their supply, they are not actually accumulating, they are still more or less in the middle of nowhere, getting high, a little bit high, a little bit down, low, high, low. We are still consolidating here the position of the supply of the humbucks, 10k or more bitcoins holders, and nothing more, and now nothing major is happening. Even the whales are more or less at the same level since the bottom, so they are not accumulating that much. That could mean obviously that they think the price will go much lower than 16k, or they think that probably there is time still to accumulate for the next big drop down. That's obviously what you can think of. Sharks the same, because they have accumulated a little bit at the bottom, and they waited for the 30k to get out from the market and realizing profits, and so we are more or less consolidating the positions right here as well. They dropped from the top right here, but we had also the Luna collapse, and we had a lot of things happening from that kind of price perspective. So sharks and more were in that chart as well. The fish is what I think they are most important than to 100 Bitcoin holders, because they seems to know exactly when they should get out of the market or get in. In fact, we see that we had some kind of accumulation right here. They just full for the second top, but at the end they started accumulating here at the bottom, and even more right here, and they are still slowly accumulating even at 30k. So they don't think we'll get much lower than 20k, 20 to 16k. In that case, they'll buy a lot. So Bitcoin is not that. Seems like there is still demand. Perhaps, in fact, they'll keep buying whatever. Even in bear market, they buy even more. So 1 to 10 Bitcoin, 0.1 to 1, they are shrimps. They just keep buying, and even more in the depth of the Bitcoin. 16k Bitcoin is attractive, as you see right here. Even the little categories of hodler, they buy no stop, but when they reach this bottom line right here, they start accumulating very much. Even the plankton, less than 0.1 Bitcoin, are accumulating that much faster and getting into shrimps at the same time. Even here, shrimps to crabs, you see the velocity. So we know that we have accumulation on the bottom for the retailers categories of hodlers, and but what about the exchange reserve? The exchange reserve right here, you see yourself, is dropping since the last all-time high, and even before when we raced for the 20k in 2020 and so on, 2021. We stay more or less consolidating in this position until the second top, and then we started falling down. Here we have gone from more or less 3 million to 2 million coins that are available on the exchanges, and the majority of these are actually coming from Coinbase, obviously, and Binance. In fact, we see as well that Binance dropping down hard since the last thing on the SEC. We got like 100, and if we take it before the SEC, we have 600k more or less Bitcoins, and now we are at 450k. So it's still this data is still incomplete, as you see right here. It says, but the last value was 444.176 Bitcoin. So a drop in 150k Bitcoins from this exchange alone. In this case, for the Binance reserve, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't go into into other exchanges. In fact, anyway, we see that we got from this top right here 2,230,000 to 2 million, more or less flat. So 230k Bitcoin were withdrawn from exchanges in these last few weeks, and majority in the last days. So we are seeing this phenomenon of people withdrawing from exchanges, putting on their wallets. One, because you have to take into consideration what the SEC did with the old coins, and two, we have the MICA on Europe, and the MICA actually says that if you hold this kind of crypto and you sell it, or anyway you have sold them, you have to declare your capital gain, you have to impose taxes. So people is just withdrawing from exchanges, trying to evade this taxation and to take ownership of their coins, because probably as well some exchanges will be put out of the market, and even more, they will be paying for the regulation and legislation in general. But not only for Bitcoin is happening slowly in comparison, even for Ethereum. In fact, we see that Ethereum is dropping slowly ever since 2020, and slowly and slowly we got into a point where we have only 50 million from let's say 34, so a drop in more or less 50% of the exchange reserve in a matter of 2-3 years, and we got only 50 million Ethereum on exchanges. At the very end, supply shock will probably occur, but we're still far from that. We'll probably see that in the coming 5 to 10 years that will come. But let's come back to Bitcoin again, and let's see the minor reserve of Bitcoin. You see right here that we got accumulating, we still had accumulating in all miners until the very top. Then slowly they started dropping down from the bottom. So we got into the bottom, and probably something occurs when they had to sell all those bitcoins to cover their momentum, their taxations, and so they start selling a lot. Lastly, in the I will say, let's see here, May 30, so like 20 days ago, they started accumulated again really fast, so they didn't sell anything, and they probably even bought some Bitcoin that that was withdrawn from Binance itself in the last couple of days, but still they are selling into this weakening of the price. And so what else? There isn't really much we can say here. The more, if you take into account that at the start of 2020, at the end of 2020, we were more or less where we are right here. So we got into 2 million Bitcoin more or less, and we are still more or less there. So you see 1.8 million, 1.8 million right there as well. There is the possibility that that is, for the miners, this is actually nothing major, nothing new, and they're not really dropping that much, because you see this kind of accumulation. But in reality, we are talking about of here we have 826k, for example, at the very bottom, and here we have 845k. So we are talking about 15k bitcoins. That for the majority of miners, even in this sharp increase, is not really much. So if for miners nothing happened, and for the exchange reserve, the exchange reserve of Bitcoin are dropping, so we saw that we have this demand coming from retailers in majority. Meanwhile, whales and MBEX are more or less at the same levels when we dropped down from the top and we were at the bottom of the bear market. Let's see instead if the derivatives data are a problem in the next few days. Well, derivatives data in general, they are every day they are a problem in the sense that if you have open longs and you are also in this kind of derivatives markets and you are a speculator, obviously this is not a financial advice. Always, you see right here is not financial advice as always, but if you are a speculator and you are into the derivatives market, you see this open interest rising, you should take care of it, because meanwhile the interest rate, the open interest rise, you have more probability that a long liquidation, a short liquidation occurs, and then a cascade event occurs lately. So we have stops and stops and stops of these trades that longs the Bitcoin price, and they are actually the open interest is in that case is something you should watch. Now, if we take into account the data we have right now, is not that much high, but it's high in comparison to what it was at the bottom. So still, there is the probability that if we break through like a low level like 20k, as we did right here, we broke to 20k, we dropped down to 16k really fast because we got some open interest that has a stop loss right there, and in this case we see a little increase, and probably there is a lot of still a lot of closing below 20k, and so there will be not that much of this open interest destroyed if we break through, probably just a little bit. If we break down from 24k to 20k, will in that case probably a little bit of open interest will be fleshed out, and we'll have long liquidations for sure. That in the last few days hasn't really been that much, as you see right here. We talk about the bear market amounts like the short liquidation does in the majority. So let's take instead. So now we have a clear view that the fact that the price is moving, there is demand. We see that the supply shock is going on in the next few years. We have still the demand. The Bitcoin miners didn't really sell nor acquire that much of Bitcoin, so nothing is major is happening. So we saw that the derivatives that at this point are at a middle point where we are waiting for the spot market to get in a huge buy, huge sells, or anyway the next DCA wave, and so on. So we are waiting for that kind of movement into the open interest to flesh out below probably 24k. By reason really much for the price. Here instead we see if there is in fact people are using the Bitcoin protocol itself, the network, and it is using it, giving miners revenue, making alive, making so that the network remain alive, and with the phenomenon of ordinals, we are actually seeing an increase in active addresses. So we are taking into account a 30-day SMA, so a monthly SMA, and you see that monthly users, more or less, are actually getting higher into what it was the 1 million in this case. The same it was when we reached for the all-time high last time. So when we broke through here and we broke through here, there is the same interest. When we broke through the last all-time high, there is more or less right here with the phenomenon of ordinals. This is obviously why we are talking about all this, because this is fundamentals of Bitcoin and the crypto market itself, and for me these fundamentals and to me remains bullish, because you have demand, you have demand from retailers that still are increasing positions and anyway are buying. Meanwhile, the huge whales and dumbbacks are actually doing nothing. We have exchange reserves falling, so supply shock is imminent in a matter of years, and we see that miners just do their things along the way. Even if we take a 30-day SMA, this move a little bit more, and you see that there isn't really much happening with the same more or less amount of supply that we were when we reached out to 27, 25k. It's here more or less, so it isn't really much to say. Nothing changed in practice, and we don't have that much of open interest open that we may fall down from, like we did in the second time and the first time when we got this huge spikes in open interest. So there isn't really much to be concerned about. and we have a lot of active users that are actually using the Bitcoin network and generating fees for the miners to maintain alive the network itself, and to make so in the years we'll have a more sustainable Bitcoin network, and as well as the transactioners actually that are the miners. So this is it for today, and I think we know now that the fundamentals are stronger than ever. We'll see you next time. I still ask you to subscribe, to click the notification bell, share, put likes, and so on. Follow me on the other social network, most on Twitter because I am very active there. And nothing. We'll see you next time. I wish you the best things in life that are health, money, and love, and we'll see you next time.